Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I am Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our Survivor 48 Episode 8 reaction and review. I am going to say this from the start. David, if you're watching this video, I'm not sure it's going to be good for your health because this is
Oh.
not going to be a particularly nice discussion about you. Now, when I was in the sixth grade, I was a big fan of Pokemon back when Pokemon first emerged on the scene. And as a lot of you Poke fans out there know, certain Pokemon you catch end up evolving. And here's the thing with David at this point. You have evolved, but you have evolved into your next form. You've gone from sitcom Dave to toolbox Dave.
Oh.
Or, to use another Survivor analogy, you have evolved from Coach the first time he played, where I thought he was an unintentionally funny oddity. I laughed at him, to Coach the third time he played, where he was insufferable and hypocritical, and I did not enjoy watching him, even if he made it further. You have done this within the span of just one season. Congratulations.
I have had such a hard journey with David. I've never really been able to get behind him except when he was talking about his girlfriend slash ex-girlfriend. He has said both at this point, so I don't know which one is true, with the way that she seemingly was treating him, being like, oh, if you don't have money, then I'm not going to stay with you. That really broke my heart. All the rest of this, David has just not felt genuine. Everything has felt like it's a bit of an act, like oh, the milk, all of it was just very like not genuine and not real. And this episode is the first time where it feels like the mask has slipped. And this is the David that wants to be in control of everything. If you don't listen to him, you're against him. It could just be the game. That happens.
Yeah.
However, this is what we're getting. The edit on this episode was super weird. It was all of a sudden, David is this villain. He's in control of everything. He's best friends with Mary out of thin air. Like, they haven't built this up at all. All of a sudden, they're barely even talking to their best friends, and Mary is running David. I was just like, when did this happen, editors?
Yeah, well, the irony in all of this is it's been a few seasons now where Survivor's done these 90-minute episodes. It's like we have extra time and still somehow we're not getting this. Instead, it's more important for them to show us Jeff Probst's PSAs about applying for Survivor. And it's like, okay, we can't use that extra 30 seconds to, I don't know, contextualize a little bit more of what's going on here with these two.
Yeah, even give me a montage of like how they've gone from not knowing each other to where Mary is the only person that's able to pull David's ear. I think it's really important for us as viewers to know how that developed.
Yeah, and let me just make this clear right now. I'm not going to go on here and chastise David for trying to be a mastermind because there have been plenty of good masterminds over the course of Survivor history. I'm not going to be a hypocrite, but I think the problem here is, number one, I don't get the full sense that David's ever going to own exactly everything that he's doing. And I also think that, number
No.
two, there's a difference between being a mastermind and then also telling everybody you're a mastermind and then telling everybody how they're going to vote or telling them what the right and wrong way to play the game is. This is one of the worst tribal council performances I can remember from somebody who was not even up to get any votes. It's one thing to do really badly and then everybody votes for you and then you had the jury, but he was not on the board and he still managed to do an absolutely abysmal job.
Yeah, his jury management is very poor. He is not going to get the votes if he makes it to the end. It feels like this was the episode David ended his game.
Yeah, it brings me back, and we're going to jump into a time machine here for a moment.
Oh, beep, bop, 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 boop. Okay.
Okay, we are now in the pregame of Survivor Cagayan, where I know Jeff Probst did like this cast assessment video, and he was like, Spencer has zero chance of winning this game. David, you have zero chance of winning this game after this episode. You just did an absolutely horrible job. No, none of these people are going to vote for you.
No, he's not treating people well. And I think that's part of it. He's not listening to what other people have to say. And he's cutting off Kyle. He's putting Joe in a box. Like These are his actual alliance members. He is not in an alliance, the Integrity Alliance, with Mary. She's actually not part of it, but he is burning everybody for Mary, who is not part of this alliance yet. And it's making everybody else feel like they're not being heard. And nobody wants to feel like that.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to get voted out and go to jury feeling like that.
Rest assured, David, we have more. We have more that's coming your way in regards to this episode. But before we get into any of it, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We still have a lot more to go here of Survivor of 48. We don't want you guys to miss any of our coverage there. Of course, we're also building up to the new season of Big Brother, which is coming this summer on CBS. And we are also in the midst right now of The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu, as well as The Last of Us, which has just premiered on HBO.
Absolutely. We also have coming up this summer Dexter Resurrection, Alien Earth is going to be here at the channel. So hit that subscribe button and, help support us here at the channel. And if you want to support us further, you can join our Patreon. We'll have a link for you below. Right now, we are at the end of Bosch Legacy. It's its final season, and the big finale is coming up. And going forward, we are going to be covering Criminal Minds over there and Murderbot, and it is the only place that you're going to be able to get reviews for those two shows.
Thank you guys for your support. We really, really appreciate that.
All right, let's continue on trucking along with our beef hats on for David. I really dislike the way that he's treating people, if I'm just being straight with you guys about what my real problem is here. I'm fine with him if he's like, I have a better relationship with Mary. If I've got my 5, I'd like to make it 6. Mary's that person. Camilla's not part of that. Fine. And I say that as someone who is obviously Team Guyana. I'm very happy she is still here. That's not what my problem is. My problem is the way that he's speaking to people, and he's making it that no one's allowed to have an opinion. That when Kyle was saying, hey, can I just, this is brand new to me. I thought we were all putting our votes on Chrissy. All of a sudden it's Camilla. You're not explaining why. You're just saying we're doing it, that Mary wants it, so now you want it. But she's not part of our alliance. I need more understanding of why you want this, because Chrissy has come out to kind of be like, I'm coming after all the strong people, and that's all of us. So, why are we shifting away from the person who openly has targeted all of us? None of this is making sense. Can I have 20 minutes? No, either you're with us or against us. I was like, wow, that's really rude.
Yeah, not even Boston Rob, the king of you're either with me or you're against me. Even he wouldn't do that directly in this confrontation. I will say this for David, and this is the only thing I'm going to say for David in this entire video, is that I would be wary about Kyle based on how he seemed to be a little bit defensive regarding Camilla. And I could understand that he might be worried that Kyle and Camilla are working together. This is the first time where it feels like some of that beautiful facade that they have created this entire season was starting to come off a little bit. I get all of that.
I get it.
But does that mean that I understand or appreciate the way in which he talked down to Kyle, or the way in which he talked down to a lot of people, or he didn't let Kyle speak, or he didn't listen to any other argument? No, there's no defense for any of that, because here's how you play this situation if you're David and you want to actually be a good Survivor player, which I'm not sure at this point he's interested in doing, but you let Kyle say his piece, and then afterwards you find a nicer way to say, okay, yeah, we're still not doing that. You can't be rude and say it like that, but you want him to at least feel like his voice is being heard, that he's a special part of the group, and not that he's sort of on the outside, because all this is going to make him do is, yeah, I understand that Chrissy went this time and Kyle got what he wanted in that sense, but it still doesn't feel like he is in control of this alliance. All of this is ultimately just going to make him flip on them sooner.
Yeah, and I also don't like the way he was talking to Joe either. You could see Joe was getting really frustrated because he also wasn't getting answers, and he's just like, I am really confused. I don't understand why it's going this way. Chrissy is saying my name. I need this. Camilla's not saying anybody's name right now. She is not the bigger threat than Chrissy, who has openly targeted our entire group and me specifically. And David's still like, no, we're going with, what Mary wants, who's not even part of this group. But, I'm going to make it that we're the six now because I said so. He's handling people so tremendously badly that if you're going to turn Joe against you, who's like the nicest guy,
Yeah.
like you are really handling this quite badly. Especially since David's whole thing is, oh, we're going to be, the strong alliance, the integrity alliance. Joe is so strong and integrity.
Yeah.
He is that guy on this show, and he's the guy you're not even going to let speak, to the point that Joe is even sitting there kind of being like, okay, fine, whatever you want. Nobody's listening to me anyways. Like, who cares? Like, I might as well just shut up. It's so awful.
It's awful. And I mean, this is why it is satisfying to see at the end of this episode that Chrissy does go to jury. David doesn't get his way. And I'm sure a lot of this comes down to the idea that basically at this point, Joe and Eva are close. And then also Kyle, that they were just enough dissenting voices that David's plan couldn't really win out. And of course, the show is not going to give us all of these conversations. But okay, all right, it's time. This is my last major beef here with David that I must share. And David, you're especially not going to like this because I have a lot of receipts. So basically, he does this whole spiel at Tribal Council, basically being like, how dare it be a bad thing that big, strong people work together? We've had seasons where there are underdogs, and we've had seasons where there are women, and they all get to the... It's like, okay, David, this is season 48. There's only really, in my opinion, and you guys can argue with me in the comments if you want, but this is my opinion, that there are only 2 seasons of Survivor where there has really been a dominant women's alliance that has just taken over everything. One of them is Micronesia, which had Parvati and Sari, 2 of the best players of all time, and the other one is One World. And if you have been on this channel for a long time, then you know that just looking at one game, not counting any repeat appearances, I think Kim Spradlin's win in One World is the best Survivor game we have ever seen. So 2 seasons out of 48. Okay, David, you want to go with there's never been a big, strong alliance that's tried to go to the end. Coach had a warrior alliance that he named the Warrior Alliance in Tocantins. There was a strong alpha alliance in Fiji. The reason those alliances don't get to the end is because the strong integrity dudes either end up turning on each other or they develop heads that are so big that they don't see the blind side coming. And guess what, David? Your head is so big, you're not going to see the blind side coming.
And here's the thing. Chrissy's not really having a problem that you've put together the Strong People's Alliance.
Yeah.
That's not what her issue is. I can't believe I'm defending Chrissy.
Right, here we are.
Chrissy's issue is that she is not part of your alliance, and she is with the underdogs, and the underdogs are all going to get picked off, which is what is happening because they are not part of the Strong People Alliance. And a lot of these challenges, I know at the challenge they were kind of like, oh, sometimes you throw these kinds of challenges, Jeff, and these kinds of, they are all physical. They are all physical. You can have a puzzle, but you got to do physical stuff to get to the puzzle, right? So physical people typically do much better in these. So Chrissy's looking back being like, okay, yeah, I'm not as strong as David or, as physical as Joe. So I'm going to have a harder time in these challenges. So my problem's not that necessarily that it's a strong person alliance. It's that you have an alliance that I'm not part of, and I'm watching us all get picked off, and I'm done with it.
I want to rename this episode, and oh my god, I sound like such a hater in this video, but you know what? I don't care. Okay, this episode needs to be renamed The Battle of Annoying, because here's the thing. I found David supremely annoying. I also found Christy at Tribal Council to be annoying. Not her. I understand where she's coming from with that part of it.
I do too.
I'm on the outside of my alliance. But when she starts to get into this, why am I even playing the game sort of whiny fest? He's just like, okay, Chrissy, go find an idol or something. It's like, your fate is not sealed. You go into this tribal council, and even after the fact, you're like, I went out swinging. It's like, okay, great, Chrissy, you went out swinging, but it's not like you had no options whatsoever to save yourself in this game. The problem is, it's just that you sat back and let a lot of other things happen. You
Yes.
also, we're at some part of getting rid of people that might have been an asset to you a little later. I know you didn't go to a million tribal councils, but it's just like you're as responsible for your fate in the game as anyone else. Yes, you are unlucky. You are on a season with a lot of strong alpha personalities that want to work together. That's true, but it's like no season of Survivor is rigged that it is impossible for you to do anything.
Yeah, Star said it right, where she was kind of like, yeah, I didn't have a vote. And I'm kind of just like, doop, 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 doop.
Yep.
I'm just going to have to kind of play it out the way that it is. I'm watching people run back and forth to this part of the beach, to that part of the beach, having this conversation, that conversation. And I'm just sitting in the shelter being like, cool, I'm not part of these conversations. And I was like, Chrissy needs to listen to that
Yeah.
because she's the person who has this strong opinion about the Strong People's Alliance. She has said it multiple times now, but she's not having conversations and running back and forth and trying to find people to work this together to be able to get one of them out. She's not actually doing any of that. She's just sitting back and waiting for her fate.
Yeah, and sometimes the best moves to make in Survivor are not big moves, they're subtle moves. I mean, heck, sometimes the best moves are just to not really make a move at all and let other people blow up their own games. I mean, I think this is a part of what Camilla did in this episode that's so special. Is I'm not sitting here and being like, oh, Camilla did nothing, but
No.
Christy went so hard and caused so many more problems for herself. Like, I'm sure she went in the tribal council probably knowing that she was the person voted off. I'm sure that wasn't a last second decision, but it's like what she did at tribal council did her no favors at all. And if there was a debate between her and Camilla there, like Camilla would have probably been saved just based on how Christy acted in that tribal council. Camilla at least knows, okay, I can have some conversations. I can't go crazy. There's nothing that's going to benefit me at this point.
Okay, speaking of that
Yeah.
and just people that are ruining people's games and talking out of turn, let's talk about Jeff because my beef hat's already on, and I've said this all season, and I really dislike this every season. When Jeff pinpoints people and pulls apart their gameplay, it's so frustrating because he's asking Camilla a question. She's like, oh, yeah, I was really surprised that I got picked first because I'm kind of on the bottom and,
Yeah.
nobody really picks me for anything. And it's just kind of what I am. And Jeff's like, oh, yeah, you've been saying that since the beginning. But now that we've all gotten to know you, we know you're lying, is basically what he said. I was just like, Jeff, go eat a bag of grass. Everybody has a chance to be able to lie and scheme and play that role of what you want to play. But you don't get the right to then call out only one person and pull apart their lie in front of everybody. It just feels so inherently unfair. You are not a player, Jeff.
Jeff's having a hard time. There's too many big strong dudes this season, and he doesn't have a Boston Rob to fawn all over. So I'm curious to see how much his spawning is going to go in the direction of Joe, because I've said I love Joe. Joe is my guy. I feel like deep down Joe is also Jeff Probst's guy. I would not be surprised if later this season we have commentary that is like, Joe is putting his family on his back as he wins this challenge, and he's gonna go so over the top with this. I'm used to this with Jeff, but it doesn't necessarily mean I like it.
No, I don't think that he should be pulling apart the games of, this is what it feels like. He's pulling apart the games of people he doesn't want to win. And Camilla has been playing a very solid game.
Yeah.
Kyle has been playing a pretty solid game. Like,
Yes.
obviously, he put himself a little more on the line this time. Camilla, to me, is playing a better game. She's much more subtle behind it. She has been playing this sort of like, yeah, I'm kind of on the bottom, but I'm loyal and, I try my best. And, like, she's really stuck with that. Until Jeff pointed it out and is basically like, yeah, you've been saying that, but really, you're just a liar. I was like, wow, Jeff, that's so crap.
It's funny because that'll happen in the midst of what I think was a really smart thing Camilla did, which was working with Shaheen in that challenge, where it's just like, okay, I'm fine if people think that me and Shaheen are really close, because who's probably going to be taken out first of the two of us? Shaheen, because
Right.
apparently, and I still don't really know the logic behind this, that Shaheen is viewed as like this shady strategic mastermind. And yeah, he dumped out Kyle's bag, but that's like, I mean, not dumped out, he dug through Kyle's bag. It's like, yeah, that's a sort of shady thing to do, but that's allowed in Survivor. I mean,
Yeah, it
it's like,
is.
is that one thing the only thing everybody has on Shaheen? I don't know, but it's still, I appreciate what Camilla is doing on a strategic angle. Yeah, she's avoided a little bit of danger. Theoretically, could she be in danger moving forward? Sure, but I just don't feel like deep in my soul that this Integrity Alliance is going to get to the final five or final six. I just don't
No.
see it.
No, and after seeing how all the votes actually fell and seeing, that Mary and David both did vote for Chrissy, well, I'm sure we'll find out in the next episode how this actually pulled together.
Yeah.
But it feels like the rest of the alliance must have really hit home on those two, that they do not have the votes. They don't get to choose what's going to happen. They probably promised them Camilla next week,
Yeah.
and they're going to be bitter about it, especially David, because David was talking over everybody, wouldn't let
Yeah.
anybody speak to get what he wanted, and he didn't get what he wanted. So I could very much see that next week he's going to be like, oh, this alliance isn't with me. They are against me. I said the way that it should be. Nobody allowed that to happen. So I feel like they're against me.
It's a really funny situation moving forward, because if I was playing Survivor at this point, there's a part of me, and I'm not saying this because I would like it, there's a part of me that'd be like, okay, maybe it's a good idea to go to the end with David now, because David's never going to win. I'm going to beat David. But the problem there is that David already has people on his pecking order who he's the closest with. He's probably going to want to go to the end. So I think, despite my strong temptation to want to go to the end with David, I would probably need to get David out the next few episodes just to ensure that those numbers start to break up and there is a spot for me. It's like funny when Jeff did his whole spiel after Eva won immunity, that was just like, I'm sure you spent a lot of time imagining what this moment was like. And I got to tell you, as somebody who, I don't want to play, but of course I've thought about it here and there,
Mhm.
I've never thought about Jeff putting the immunity necklace around my neck, because I know I'm never going to win it. I know that's not going to be an option for
You
me.
don't
Like,
know.
what's the challenge going to be? All right, this week on Survivor, Final Fantasy trivia, Matt, and Final Fantasy 7. Okay, I might have that one, but this challenge, the memorial climb on this pole and listen to Mary talk about how she wants the pole to be her boyfriend, which is the funniest thing that was in this entire episode. I would be dead in that. Dead.
I wouldn't even be able to get up the pole. Like, this show is not for me. I am a non-athlete. I have nothing in me. I would not be able to get up the pole.
No, it's a complete waste for me to even really think about any of that. But okay, you mentioned Star briefly, and I wish I had a good name for this beyond just like Star Corner, because just saying Star is a star is too cheesy. But
But
we,
she is.
I know it is sort of like I'm Team Joe, you're Team Guyana, but I think Team Star is where our paths.
Everybody.
It has to be. I once again, we can talk about the edit here. I wish there was more time the show was spending to kind of give us a better sense as to how Star has pulled off what she has pulled off. Where
Yeah.
earlier on this season, she was clearly on the outs. Nobody wanted to talk to her. She doesn't have a vote, as you pointed out, and yet nobody is talking about her. Nobody is considering her. She's not, considered at the top of the pecking order, seemingly in any alliance, but she's not being looked at as, okay, we need to take this next person out. Like, I really feel, especially with that little tidbit that you mentioned earlier about her watching and listening,
Mhm.
is she getting a winner's edit? I caution myself saying that, but it feels like that's something that you would show in a winner's edit.
I feel like the only way that this would work in a way where Star would actually get the votes at the end is that she's going to have to make some kind of moves where she's really going to be able to explain how she got there. Because at the beginning, yeah, she was at the bottom of everything. And for her to move from the bottom of everything, to building better relationships with Eva, what she did with the idols. Some of these things are helping her build friendships, which is really important.
Yeah.
But Star is not being brought in on any of the strategic stuff. So my worry is that she's going to get to the end and they're going to be like, oh, well, you just floated your way there, even though she didn't, that she's not going to be able to really explain, hey, I really was at the bottom, and this is how I stop myself from being at the bottom by building these strategic friendships, alliances in that type of way where people aren't targeting me. Okay, well, what else did you do? That's what it's going to feel like.
Yeah, I think what she needs to do now is take advantage of the fact that the Integrity Alliance is starting to break off into different
Yes.
chunks. And this is the part of it that's going to make me very sad. I don't have a sad hat, but if I did, I would put it on. The right move for Star at this point is to split up Eva and Joe. Eva is too much of a
Yes.
challenge threat. She has the idol. Joe is going to win at the end of the game. He's too likable. He's got too good of a story.
And now Eva has this other little special thing as well that was so irritating
Yeah.
because I was like, there's two people that are so far away from that chip bowl that we're never going to have a chance to see it. It was just luck of whoever sat there.
Yeah, there's one big problem, well, two problems I have with this. One, the location of the chip bowl, and two, the idea that only people who were on this reward would actually have a chance for it. So it's just like, okay, you're rewarding people, I guess, who are at this, but I like it better when it's hidden in a spot where everybody has a chance for it. The only thing I like about this, and I know we haven't seen it fully play out yet, is just this whole you must sneak away in the middle of the night to try. I like anything that makes me feel like I'm watching the TV version of Skyrim where you have to have like a sneak 100 skill and you're going into a room and trying to do it without somebody detecting you. Like that part is fun.
The interesting thing too, though, was that there was people talking about like, oh, Chrissy, oh, we got to get rid of Joe. If we get rid of
Yeah.
Joe, Eva's done for him. Like, is she? She just won immunity.
Yeah.
She also has an idol. She also has an advantage. She's a very strong player. She is physically strong. She
Yeah.
is mentally strong. What are you talking about? Eva is the person that if you sit next to at the end, you have lost.
Eva may be the only person left who can beat Joe. And I don't think anybody
She
else.
will beat Joe.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else can. She does have that ability physically where because she plays hockey and she's an athlete, she can do
Yeah.
a reasonably enough job in these challenges that are built for the really strong machismo dudes. But she's also good at these challenges that, benefit smaller people, like this
Yep.
pole challenge.
Yes.
Nobody who's big or burly is ever going to do well in that. But okay, last thing I have in this is we have to take a moment to talk a little bit about Mitch. And I don't know how much credit we're going to give Mitch here, but entering this episode, it felt pretty obvious to me that he was the person on the outs because they were sort of like last episode. Okay, say Cedric, Mitch, these are the people that are on the bottom. And nobody really talked about Mitch as anything, which was kind of surprising because it seems like he's also a pretty nice guy with an inspirational story. I mean, he feels like he's a little bit of a threat at the end of the game.
It just felt like there were people that are not part of this alliance, like Star said, where it's just like, yeah, we're just sitting back at camp watching people run back and forth, and we don't know what is going on. Nobody's talking to us, so like we don't
Yeah.
know what's happening. They not a whisper of these two. Like it really, I need more context. Where did this Camilla thing come out of? Why does Mary all of a sudden have this really big problem with Camilla? And why does Mary have such a huge voice in an alliance that she is not a part of? How did this come together, editors? Like, I don't get it.
Okay, so the past few episodes in general, they've been a little bit of downers when it comes to eliminations. It's like a lot of them have been very predictable. We're both still very salty about losing, say, at that point.
At
But
least it wasn't Camilla. I'm,
at least
you know,
it's not Camilla. At least it's not Star. At least it's not
Yeah.
the people we really were like. I love Joe, but I'm assuming Joe's going to be voted out at some point because it's too dangerous to get to the end. But I will say at least this moving forward is that I could have serious egg on my face. I'm ready to jump in the clown car, but I really feel the next few episodes are going to be better and more dramatic just because Chrissy, I not trying to offend you, Chrissy, but nobody I think in the game right now is willing to bend over backwards for Chrissy. I just don't think she was that good a survivor player. She didn't know how to hold her cards close. Say was way too chaotic. Cedric, way too chaotic. Even going back to Charity, wasn't a great player either. I don't think that any of the players left are so bad or just so nothing
Nope.
burger that they're going to just be rolled over like this. I really feel like the game could turn now.
I'm very excited about the group that is here. There are people obviously that I root for more than others,
Yeah,
but everybody here is playing and they're all playing in very different ways, where you see someone like Star who is playing more with these relationships that she is building, people like David who are just trying to talk over everybody,
yeah.
people who are being more physical like Eva, people who are being more strategic like Camilla. There's all these different ways that people are playing, but everybody here is playing.
Yeah, I am bullish about the end of this season. Let's just cross our fingers and hope that I'm not wrong with some of that. But of course, now let's hear from you guys. What did you think about Survivor 48, Episode 8? Are you frustrated with David to the extent that we are frustrated with David? Is there anybody else you're frustrated with? Like, who are you actually rooting for? Share in the comments. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our other Survivor videos. Also, The Last of Us, The Handmaid's Tale, like Jess said, Dexter Resurrection, and Alien Earth are coming, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We are covering their Bosch Legacy right now, and we have Criminal Minds Evolution in Murderbot with Alexander Skarsgård coming up very, very soon. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you here next time.